The story of the Rover BRM Turbine began not on the racetrack, but in aviation laboratories. As early as the early 1940s, Rover was working on turbines originally intended for aircraft. After the war, they wanted to apply this technology to the automotive industry, seeking a new direction for civilian cars. The result was the Jet 1 of 1950, Rover's first gas turbine prototype, heralding a completely different approach to propulsion. Jet 1 was a bold experiment, a two-seater roadster powered by a turbine engine, producing approximately 230 horsepower, mounted behind the driver. During official testing, the car reached 150 miles per hour, 245 kilometers per hour on the flying kilometer, making it one of the fastest British prototypes of the decade. Rover demonstrated that aircraft-derived turbochargers could also perform well on land, although they required significantly more refinement, particularly in terms of temperature and fuel consumption. Over the next dozen or so years, various test versions were developed, some for road use, others designed for racing. The interest in endurance racing stemmed from the turbine's characteristics, ideal for sustained load. This was what attracted Rover to the 24 Hours of Le Mans. To make the project a reality, the company partnered with British Racing Motors, a renowned builder of Formula One cars. BRM supplied a key element, a lightweight, proven chassis. The chassis came from a wrecked BRM car from the 1961 season, a version known as the Type 5657. It received a completely new, open, lightweight aluminum body. A turbine producing approximately 130 horsepower was mounted in the center section, mated to a single-stage gearbox, whose characteristics differed from those of conventional gearboxes. The car was remarkably simple in design, yet capable of impressive performance. A top speed of 230 kilometers an hour, or 140 miles per hour, and the turbine's sound was reminiscent of a jet engine. In 1963, the Rover BRM entered Le Mans as an experimental car. Drivers included Graham Hill, later F1 world champion. The car wasn't classified, but the ACO established a prize for the prototype that covered at least 3,600 kilometers. The Rover BRM covered a whopping 4,173 kilometers, completing 310 laps, a result equivalent to 8th place overall. For a research project, this was a breakthrough, confirming the real potential of turbine propulsion. The team missed Le Mans in 1964, but work continued. Improvements were primarily made to the powertrain, which required improved throttle response and greater thermal efficiency. A year later, the team returned to the Circuit de la Sarthe with a completely redesigned T4. The most noticeable change was the new closed bodywork, which was more aerodynamic and modern, ensuring stability at high speeds. The T4 also received an improved turbocharger equipped with a thermal energy recovery system, improving fuel efficiency. The car was classified in the 2-liter category. Graham Hill and Jackie Stewart, making his Le Mans debut, were once again behind the wheel. Despite engine problems caused by debris from the track, the car finished 10th overall and 7th in its class. The greatest success, however, wasn't its position, but rather its drastically reduced fuel consumption. Compared to 1963, fuel consumption more than doubled, reaching around 17.5 liters per 100 kilometers at racing pace. This achievement attracted enormous interest from engineers and the media, as turbines had previously been considered exceptionally fuel-hungry. The Rover T4 demonstrated that a properly designed heat recovery system could significantly change this picture. Although performance was promising, technological limitations remained significant. The turbine still exhibited a delayed response to gas and could reach extreme temperatures, requiring constant monitoring. The lack of engine braking necessitated the installation of stronger, heavier brakes. Manufacturing costs and the difficulty of adapting such a unit for daily operation were also problematic. Despite the engineers' efforts, no single solution to all challenges was found. Rover continued to develop turbine propulsion for several more years, but the project gradually lost its economic viability. Development of conventional piston engines was much faster and cheaper. As a result, experiments were scaled back and ultimately abandoned in the 1970s. Rover's collaboration with BRM ended, leaving behind a unique legacy: two prototypes that prove that the turbine revolution was technically possible, if impractical. Today, the Rover BRM Turbine is considered one of the most remarkable designs in the history of Le Mans and experimental motoring in general. Museum exhibits, classic car displays, and archive footage recall this daring project, where aerospace technology met European racing tradition. Although the turbine revolution never materialized, the Rover BRM remains proof that racing is not just a sport, but also a laboratory for future and sometimes forgotten technologies.